T-minus 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Booster ignition and liftoff.
Live from somewhere deep in the Freedom State of Florida, it's the Let's Be Frank Show with your host, Frank.
And fact check him in real time. Last time at the first debate, we had millions of people fact checking, so I expect we'll have millions more fact checking because it's just awfully good that someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Because you'd be in jail.
Secretary Clinton.
We want to remind the audience to please not talk out loud. Please do not applaud. You're just wasting time.
You're just wasting time. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of our Freedom Stream. I'm glad that you guys are joining me here today. Thank you for being here. Let me go ahead and move this camera just a little slightly. There we go. There we go. Much better. Hey, welcome, everybody. I'm glad you guys are joining me today. We got a lot to talk about tonight, especially in the realm of possibly arresting Hillary Clinton. That would be great. Could we arrest someone, please? I don't care at this point if it's Hillary or Obama. Either one or both would be great. I know President Trump has been teasing that for the last couple of days over on his Truth Social account, posting memes and things like that about, nothing changes until these people are arrested. However, Pam Bondi doesn't seem to have moved on any of them yet. Maybe he got lost on the Bermuda Triangle, which is Pam Bondi's desk. I don't know. However, what I do know is there's overwhelming evidence that the Obamas, Clintons, and many others involved in the whole Russia gate and, of course, the whole spy gate, and that leads into the 2020 hoax of 2020, all wrapped into one. They all converge at this one central time back in 2016. And, of course, is Obama with his cronies in the Intelligence Department, which Hillary Clinton was working with alongside in order to pass off the dossier, this Christopher Steele dossier, as actual fact. And we know that wasn't the case. However, of course, the rot is deep, the swamp is deep, and there is just, it's all rigged. It's all rigged against the normal everyday American, the everyday Joe out there, everyday Jane. For if you guys were involved in any of this type of corruption, you would definitely be put in prison. However, because your last name is not Clinton, or maybe if it is, you have no relation to Hillary and Bill, you are immune to actually, facing consequence. But it's great to see all of you guys here this morning or this evening. Thank you for being here today as we get going, because there was some revelations that has appeared over the course of a couple days, dropped, of course, by the office of Tulsi Gabbard and most recently Chuck Grassley, the senator from Iowa, who is leading some of these investigations. And see, the problem I have many times is just these investigations. We have investigations on top of investigations on top of investigations. However, it never seems as though Republicans will ever arrest anybody of significance. Democrats, on the other hand, were successful in arresting the former president of the United States, Donald Trump, when he was out of office. Wow. You don't get many big fish like that every day. However, Republicans seem immune to actually being able to fulfill the duties of the office they've been sworn to do and actually carry out the U.S. Constitution against the enemies abroad and from within. They like talking about enemies abroad, but they do not like holding enemies that are within the United States accountable for anything. Unfortunately, that is the state of the Republican Party in a nutshell. I will be very surprised if President Trump's able to have his DOJ arrest anybody. I would love for the arrest of Hillary Clinton and others to be prominent and very lifted to a point to where the entire nation understands that the corruption within government is extreme, and there are only solutions such as arresting and putting on trial that is appropriate for the levels of crime that these individuals have participated in against these United States. And that's the crux of all of it. Are we going to be able to hold these people accountable? Is the DOJ, FBI arm of the government going to be able to hold to account other members of the government? They have no problem arresting average Joes and Janes. They proved that in the January 6th hunting down of those who decided to go ahead and utilize their First Amendment speech against a tyrannical government at the time. And I believe in some cases it still might be in some areas. And they had no problem hunting down those who opposed the abortion clinics. They had no problem hunting those people down and arresting them and throwing them in jail. They had no problem hunting down moms and dads of school boards or going to school board meetings for simply standing up for their kids in many of these school districts. They had the FBI sicked on them where they were being spied on and harassed in many cases by this FBI. And of course, unfortunately, if you were a individual in the state of Michigan who was infiltrated by the feds and set up to carry out a fake kidnapping of Governor Whitmer, well, you're still in prison right now or still on trial, which is a travesty of what's taking place. And so all of that just to say this: the Republican Party has a problem of not actually wielding power when it has power. And of course, we know this. We have seen it over and over. One of the biggest disappointments of most Republican politicians, I would say, you guys may agree, is Trey Gowdy. Do you remember that dude, Trey Gowdy? He would go on Fox News all the time and, slang. I think he actually works at Fox News now. But at the time when he was a congressman from South Carolina, he would go out on TV and smash his fist on the desk and say, hey, we're going to get to the bottom of this Hillary Clinton thing. We're going to get to the bottom of Benghazi, and we're going to hold these people accountable. And guess what? Nobody ever got held accountable by Trey Gowdy. It was all strongly worded letters and Fox News appearances that people ate up, and that was enough for him to be able to fundraise to continue to stay in Congress. And I really thought, when the election of President Donald Trump back in 2016, we're actually going to see some of these fiery orators of the Senate and House of Representatives actually go and hold these people accountable. And none of that actually ever happened because these people are spineless individuals who would rather just show up, make some speeches, make some fiery remarks, and then collect a check. Collect some fundraising so they can continue their lifestyle in Washington, D.C. That right there is Gowdy left office right before. Oh, that's right. He did. You're right, Mayor. He did leave office right before. I wonder why he did. Maybe because he was actually going to be held to actually go after some of these people. That's the only thing I could think of. Oh, wrong button. That's the only thing I could think of. But yeah, Trey Gowdy. And speaking of Trey Gowdy, he was on Fox News earlier. And basically wagging his tail or wagging his finger about the use of that we shouldn't be arresting individuals involved in Spygate and things like that. We shouldn't be arresting them. We should just be, I don't know. Let's see here. I had the video. Oh goodness. I saw the video. It was Trey Gowdy. He was over there just spewing off at the mouth saying that we shouldn't be. Let's see here. I got to look it up real quick. Trey Gowdy. Don't arrest. Let's see. Here it is. Okay. So here's Trey Gowdy. Let me go ahead and put it up on the screen here for you guys to listen to and put it up on here. Here he is. Here's Trey Gowdy. Let's take a listen because he's going to say, "Oh, we don't want to be arresting them. There's other ways we can punish them." He says here.
Same pointed questions, Trey.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Brennan, the same allergy to the truth that he has now. He is allergic to the truth. He lied in that part of his testimony, and he lied about whether or not the dossier was used in court filings. The statute's wrong, but to Leslie's point, handcuffs are not the only way we mete out accountability in this culture. There's shame, there's history. It's not just prison. There are other ways we mete out accountability. And the fact that somebody's not wearing handcuffs does not, to me, think that what they did is okay, because it wasn't.
Byron, last word on this. You guys are going to come back later in the show. A couple of.
Yeah, I disagree with Trey Gowdy on that. I think at this point, the only remedy is handcuffs, is some type of prison time for these individuals. There is no other shame. They have no shame. What's Trey Gowdy even talking about? Oh, we can shame them in history. They write the history books. They're not afraid of shame. Are you nuts? Are you awake, Trey Gowdy? Are you awake? Because they're not ashamed ever. They're not ashamed at all. Shame doesn't work. You threaten them with, oh, how is this going to look at history down the road? They don't care. They'll rewrite the history books if they need to. They don't care. Again, the only accountability that is left is handcuffs in prison. That's the only thing. It's a shame on Trey Gowdy here. Absolutely. He does kind of look like Pee Wee Herman too. He does. Yeah, I mean, you think about this. There is no other alternative, Trey Gowdy. There is no other alternative in this world that you think that shame is somehow going to stop John Brennan from undermining the United States of America, or shame is somehow going to prevent Hillary Clinton and Barack Hussein Obama to continue to subvert Americans in this country. You are an absolute retard if you think that. There should be you shouldn't even be a pundit. If that's your line, if that's your answer to a question like that, oh no, there are places like we could do. There'll be shame and history, dude. Shut up, man. Shut up. You don't even know what you're talking about. You have no idea what you're talking about. In other words, let me translate this for you. Hey, leave my friends alone. They don't belong in prison, and they definitely don't need handcuffs on their wrist. That's the translation. Because any other sane human being on this country would understand that when you break the law multiple times, in order to subvert the will of the American people, there is accountability that is beyond shame. Yeah, shame should be part of it. Absolutely. History should be part of it. Yes. But the absence of accountability in a court of law, the absence of prison time served is basically nothing. It's basically nothing. There is nothing that is going to satisfy the penalty for what they deserve. Right? Shame is definitely not going to do it, and neither is the history books, because they'll just rewrite them. I don't even care. Trey Gowdy is absolutely wrong. I have no problem. I would tell him to his face that he is wrong. He is wrong if he thinks, oh, these things are good. No. In other words, you're just telling me that you don't want your buddies to go to prison. That's what you're telling me. Because all these guys in the House and in the Senate, the majority of them, I won't say all, the majority of them, they all get along. They all go and have drinks afterwards. They all go to the gym. They all go to the restaurants to get these parties and whatnot. They're all buddies. They're all chummy with one another. And they just turn on the fiery rhetoric when the television cameras are rolling so they can score some points for their team. That's all that is. That's the problem, right? That's the problem we have with so many of our own politicians. People that, I used to think there were awesome people. Ted Cruz, man, I used to love me some Ted Cruz. That's all he did was just talk. There was nothing, man. There is nothing besides some fiery speech on the floor of the House or of the Senate. Great. He gave a great speech. What happened? Nothing. What did he stop? Nothing. And I used to love myself Ted Cruz, man. Man, I love Ted Cruz. Dude proved to just be an ineffective mouthpiece, man. Just like a lot of these guys over here in the House and the Senate. They sit there and they're like, "Oh, we're going to lunch." Well, where's what's his name? Jordan. Representative Jordan out of Ohio. I can't think of his first name at the moment. You guys will probably come up with it. His name's escaping me. I just know his last name's Jordan. Where's his investigations gone? Right? He was supposed to be digging into the January 6th stuff and getting to the bottom of all this corruption. Jim Jordan. All of this stuff. What's he? Dude, I haven't heard a peep from him, man. Are they even meeting over there? Are those committees even meeting? Oh my gosh. That's all I got. That's all I got with these people, man. That's all I got with these people. These people are just Luciano said Liz Warren fell during an incoherent speech. Ted Cruz was the first to come to her rescue. Yeah, I saw that video. I have it queued up. We'll watch it here in a bit. But yeah, I mean, they're all friends, man. They're all friends. No matter how much they sit there and they say that, oh, whoa, the other side and blah, blah, blah. And it's just, man, it's just, it's kabuki theater, man. That's all it is. And the longer I have been covering politics, it's been a long time now. I feel like I've been doing this for a very long time. We just see, hey, Kevin, man, great to see you. Randall, Luciano, great to see all of you guys. And we just see all of this stuff. Just it's like it's on repeat, right? We get all excited. And I want to be excited. I see lots of YouTube channels. I see lots of Rumble channels and stuff. And they play these fiery speeches. I haven't done it in a long time. I just cannot. And don't get me wrong. Some of these speeches are great. But I'm just I think I'm so jaded to the point where I'm like, if you're not going to do anything, then just sit down, man. Just sit down. Quit giving people hope. Quit giving grandma and grandpa who watch Fox News hope, man. All they talk about is, oh yeah, we're going to get these people arrested, and really, they're not. They're just giving these speeches, and they're just going through the motions, and they're just, I got a fundraise, so I'm going to go out there and give some fiery speech about, whatever is going on, and it just doesn't seem genuine. It doesn't seem genuine. I appreciate people who are genuine. And I think you guys do probably as well, is that when you come across someone who is actually genuine, and I'll compare this to maybe some of your favorite people to watch on social media, right? There's a plethora of them, right? There's a lot of guys out there that you can watch, and you're choosing to watch me right now. I'm very grateful for that. There's a lot of guys out there that I believe are not genuine who does this, right? Some of the genuine people that I've encountered and have had the pleasure to know are people like Salty Cracker. That dude is as genuine as you get, man. I love that dude. That dude is amazing. I like him. We're friends. We talk from time to time. If I have questions or whatever, I can reach out to him and stuff like that. But I know he's busy, so I try not to bother him too much. And he's a genuine guy. But then there's others, right? There's some other guys out there that are just not genuine, man. It's just about the clicks for them. They try to get the clicks as much as they can, and they repeat the same stuff. And they're like, oh, this time's it. And yeah, I get it. I've done that in the past because obviously I was really hoping something would happen. And so, I'm like, okay, something's actually going to happen with this stuff. It seems like it's on the up and up. This person's reporting on it, and this person's reporting on it, and this person's talking about it. And then we talk about, hype it up. And man, you're like, bro, where's the follow through? We're like left to hold the bag. We're like, we just help hype everyone up about this. And now there's nothing to say, oh, see, I'm glad you listened to me because look, they actually arrested somebody. And they haven't. Again, I want to be wrong. I want to be wrong and say, and want everyone to be arrested that needs to be arrested, right? I want to be wrong about the people who are doing the investigating. Maybe they are doing a very good, diligent job, and they're putting together the case that's going to be airtight, and there isn't going to be any loopholes or any wiggle room. And man, when they, here we go, here comes the justice, and you got the FBI busting through the roofs and the windows and kicking down doors, and you're like, yeah, that's what I voted for. I want to be there. I want to be there. I'll be the first to say, man, I was wrong about these guys. I was wrong about Pam Bondi and Cash and Dan and all these people who were working behind the scenes very hard to make sure this happens. I want to be wrong. I want to be the guy that you come back and say, I told you so. I told you, you just had to wait a little bit longer. They were crossing the T's and dotting the I's. I want to be that guy. I want to be the guy that was wrong when it comes to that, because I truly do want to see justice serve in this nation. I want to see justice because this nation deserves to see justice take place and be served against the people who have worked against this nation for decades, that have worked behind the scenes. And the arrest doesn't need to stop at just the high-level individuals, right? Because in any type of criminal organization, right, you have the very top, right? The very top head person. Then you have a couple lieutenants underneath. Then you have your like captains, and then you have your other guys, and then you have your foot soldiers, right? It's a big pyramid scheme, right? Big old pyramid, big old guy at the very top, right? And so, yeah, it's great that maybe we get rid of the guy on the top, right? What about all the other guys? The ones who are the most destructive, right? The ones who are the most destructive individuals are the middle management and the foot soldiers. They're the most destructive ones. And where are the foot soldiers at, right? Or where's middle management at? Middle management is rooted across all of the executive branch offices, right? They're rooted, deeply rooted into like the State Department, at the time, the Board of Education, or the Department of Education, the Department of Defense, et cetera, go down the line, right? They've been embedded in these agencies for a long time. The middle management, if we were thinking of the criminal corruption as a pyramid, right? We have, let's just say at the very top, we have Obama. And then we have Hillary, Biden, and I don't know, let's just say like Susan Rice, right? And then under them, you have Valerie Jarrett, you have some of the members of Congress, all in there, some of the department heads like John Brennan, James Clapper, all them. And then you get into the middle management. Middle management now are the ones who are within the departments, in the secretary departments. They're all infiltrated in there, right? And within the Pentagon and all these places. And then you got the foot soldiers. These are the guys that are on the outside of government that they help activate for protest sakes or rioting. Those are the foot soldiers, right? Middle management is where it's at, man. Middle management. I want middle management absolutely rooted out of all of these institutions. Middle management's where it's at. Absolutely where it's at. The middlemen, man. They're the ones that are the ones who take these orders and facilitate them the way they need to be facilitated. Right? They're facilitators of the group. The idea makers are way up a little higher up in the rungs. So middle management really needs to be rooted out thoroughly out of these departments. And until we do that, until we sit there and root them out the way they need to be rooted out, I want raids live on television for these guys too. I don't want to just stop with raids on the upper echelon. No. I want TV raids for these guys too. I want TV raids for the middle management people of the Department of Education. I want FBI busting through the windows of these people, busting through their doors, right? That's how I want them treated because they are criminals. They are criminals. They're just as much a criminal as the people that have flooded the country. They're that much of a criminal. That's who they are. They are just as bad as the people coming across the border. Just like the people coming across the border. They're just as bad. Just as bad. And I would love for us to go ahead and round them up as well. All right. For some reason, one of my videos recently must have been shared on some Spanish-speaking chat rooms or whatever, because I was getting a lot of comments in Spanish. If you don't know, I'm not a fluent Spanish speaker. I don't speak Spanish very well. I understand it pretty well. I can listen to it and pick up on it. Cannot speak it very well. I could read a few words and make out a few words. Anyway, I woke up the other morning, check on my videos, check on a couple of the ones I put out, which were about the about ICE rounding up one of the guys. I'm like, this is exactly what I voted for. And dude, the cope inside the comments. If you haven't had a chance to go look at the comments on my last video I put out, which was about the ICE arresting one of these guys who was beating up on his wife, beating up on his kids, but he was also illegal. He gets pulled over and they arrest him right there on the street. I'm like, this is exactly what I voted for. Anyway, there's so much cope inside of those comments in Spanish. I would highly recommend you guys go in and check out some of those comments. Copy and paste them into Google Translate, and you can see what they're saying. Google Translate, you're going to be your best friend on this because it was hilarious. The amount of cope this, and what I was doing, I was responding to them in English. I was responding to them in English, and one of the guys said, "Oh, you're next. You're next. They're going to be rounding you up next." Okay, yeah, okay, buddy, okay. Somebody said they didn't even get due process. They didn't get due process, man. I was like, bro, they're literally a criminal in the very act of being here without going through the proper channels. They're illegal. That's the crux of that. And man, they were so triggered. They were so triggered. I'm sure it got put into some Spanish. It's probably one of my family members, for all I know, that probably shared it. Oh, but I had a hoot this morning as I was reading through some of those comments. I was Google translating all of them. I had a pretty fun time this morning when I woke up. I was reading through some of those. I just thought it was pretty funny. Just pretty funny. Let's see here. Devil Dog says, I know enough Spanish to talk at people and navigate travel. I once went to Mexico to visit a dead friend. That's cool. Yeah, my Spanish is not very good. No bueno. That's my Spanish. No bueno. Oh my gosh, I have a hard enough time speaking English, let alone Spanish, bro. Don't get me started on trying to speak fluent Spanish. That isn't going to happen. If they were to like arrest me and like take me out of the country, they would probably quickly realize that this guy isn't Spanish at all. This dude's almost whiter than me. That's what they would tell me, and they'd just leave me stay. They'd be like, you're good, man. You're good. We're just going to keep you here. I used to have a friend that would call me a coconut. It was an endearing term. It wasn't an insulted term. It was an endearing term, coconut, because I'm brown on the outside, white on the inside. It was a long running joke for like years and years and years. Yeah, and they're like, yeah, don't ask him any Spanish questions. He's a coconut. They're like, coconut? And he's like, yeah, brown on the outside, white on the inside. That's a little Frank lore for you guys there. A little Frank lore. I don't hand out those tidbits very often, but there you guys go. a little bit of a Frank lore, if you will. Coconut, brown on the outside, white on the inside. Oh yeah. And really, it was pretty accurate. I'm not going to lie. That's why I embraced the term. I was like, yeah, I'm a coconut. I have fun. Have fun. You can't, Oreo. you can't take yourself too seriously. Once you start taking yourself too seriously, you you don't have any fun. You can't have fun if you take yourself too seriously. It's okay to laugh at yourself from time to time. I do all the time. I'm like, yeah, dude, I am pretty funny. I'm a pretty funny guy. Speaking of funny people, John Brennan. Okay. I like what Jesse Kelly says here. I've shared a lot of Jesse Kelly lately on the channel here. And I like what he says here. He's like, John Brennan's constant presence on cable news is a big concern, he says. A man who thinks he's about to be dragged into court would never allowed by his $2,000 an hour attorney to be running his mouth like this. He's either not afraid or he's very afraid. Let's go and take a look at this video because here he is with I don't even know who this lady is. I always forget her. Her and that one chick always looks kind of the same. Anyway,
it's particularly important for people who I think are nonpartisan or apolitical like me. I'm not a registered Democrat or Republican. I eschew politics, quite frankly. Mm-hmm. I served 6 presidents, 3 Democrats and 3 Republicans. I didn't agree with all the policies of any of them, but yet I respected them. I thought that what they were doing was what they thought was in the best interest of the United States. But our institutions, the Department of Justice, the FBI, the CIA, the NSA, Defense Intelligence Agency, all of these really are so critically important to our national security, but also global peace and security. And when we see these institutions being torn down and being used as political footballs, this is really detrimental to, I think, our interests as a country. And that's why I think it's important for people to speak out, not to do it for political reasons, but to call people out when they're saying things that are wrong, when they're misrepresenting, mischaracterizing the facts, because the American people are going to all the different news organizations and they're being misinformed. And so, quite frankly, I don't blame a lot of people who have the misimpressions because they're being fed these false narratives. I do blame the people in Congress, the people who know better, but continue to deceive and continue to mislead for just craven political purposes. That is something that really irritates me.
One of the things that I keep...
What irritates me is he's actually a registered commie. That's what he will not say. He won't say out loud that he's actually a registered communist. He was a card-carrying commie. Yeah, he was right. He was not a Democrat nor a Republican. He was a commie. Proud commie. Very proud. Proud and loud. Pocket Fluff says, my husband says Twinkie because he's Asian, and he says yellow on the outside, white on the middle. That's funny. That is funny. That's a pretty funny. I had never thought about that. That is funny. Or Oreos, yeah, black on the outside and white on the inside. That's funny. Anyway, John Brennan. This dude, what do you guys think? Do you guys think he's actually scared, or do you think he is afraid? Based on how he conducts himself on television. Again, Jesse Kelly's right. If you're so worried about being prosecuted by an administration, I wouldn't think you'd be running your mouth on television. It would definitely be something a lawyer would tell you not to do, right? He would advise his client to say, hey, you should probably not go on these cable television shows anymore until we can figure out what they are doing right now. So either he is very afraid and he's just, when people start being afraid, they do irrational things. Maybe that's one of the things he's doing, irrationally coming onto these media platforms. But and we know the media itself is wrapped up within the intelligence agencies. We know that they are one and the same. They get their stories directly from intel agencies. They get it from the FBI and the CIA and et cetera, right? It's called a Mockingbird Project or Mockingbird Operation or whatever it was called, right? Project Mockingbird. And they said it shut down. It never really shut down. It never really shut down because they continued to get their headlines from the intelligence agencies. They're the ones that get fed. These are the stories you're going to talk about. And because you're going to talk about these stories, the public is going to believe it's true because all of you guys are saying the same thing. How many times I've seen that one video where it's one news station starts to say something and then they bring up on the screen another news station saying the exact same thing. And before you know it, the whole screen is filled up with like 20 news stations all in sync saying the same thing. Saying the same thing. And you're like, yeah, that isn't unusual, right? That isn't unusual. Getting your talking points from the intel agencies and stuff like that. Tulsi Gabbard, and she's actually been on a roll recently. She's been on a roll with the revealing of things that have really been crucial, right? Eric Daughtry is reporting about Tulsi Gabbard, and he says this here. He says, just in FYI, or the DNI, Tulsi Gabbard has now revealed she is currently trying to shut down Operation Mockingbird within the CIA and intel community, which never actually ended. It's a propaganda program. Shut it down. And I think a lot of individuals know that, right? They know about Operation Mockingbird. They think it's something that was back from like days of old and it's shut down. But obviously it has not. It's not hard to sit there and actually see what the media is putting out consistently, right? Consistently what they are showing the American people. And it's always the talking points that line up with like the Democrat Party, lines up with the intel agencies. Remember the 50 former intel heads come together and said that the Hunter laptop was Russian disinformation. And the news media took that as gospel, man. They ran out with their papers. Oh, we got this letter from 50 intel agents that says it's Russian propaganda. And people are like, it's literally right there. The FBI has the laptop. And we have this paper trail of how the laptop ended up where we know more about the laptop than the news media wanted to tell the American people. Then the news media, on behest of the intel agencies, decided to go ahead and censor the Hunter Biden laptop, right? You guys remember that? 2020, toward the tail end of the election, we were getting close to November. And one of the biggest stories of the year broke was about the Hunter Biden laptop, what it contained on there. It was secret deals that Joe Biden was involved in with Hunter Biden and foreign nations and things like that. And all of a sudden, the news media says, oh, yeah, we can't talk about this no more. And social media is going to shut you down if you do talk about it. I remember people getting suspended. I was one of those individuals. Got suspended from YouTube, got suspended from Twitter at the time. For talking about Hunter Biden. I think I also got suspended on my personal Facebook for saying something about it as well. It was a huge blackout on that, and that was driven by the intel agencies. And yeah, whatever happened to the laptop, right? Whatever happened to the laptop? And these are some of the questions that I believe is legitimate, right? Where are we with some of the biggest stories of the past 10 years that have huge implications that we could have seen big things come out of? Instead, though, we haven't seen anything of the Hunter Biden laptop, the Seth Rich laptop, or any other thing that we've asked for in that realm. What's Anthony Weiner laptop, right? 3 laptops. Hunter Biden, Seth Rich, Anthony Weiner. 3 laptops that contained crucial information that was detrimental to a major political party. And you better believe if Democrats had a laptop like that information on anybody, let's just say Trump, for example, it would have been all leaked, Remember when an rogue IRS agent leaked President Trump's tax returns from like 5 years from the time he was running for president or whatever? They leaked those things. That person should have been arrested. That happened during Trump's administration. Trump's administration should have arrested the IRS leaker. And then, to set an example, fired all of the IRS. That would have been fantastic. That one. Say, yeah, we're going to go ahead and shut down the IRS. We're shutting down the IRS because apparently the IRS cannot keep records safe. They cannot keep records safe. So we're going to go ahead and shut them down. Because we don't want this to happen to the other Americans in this country because of the carelessness of the IRS handling sensitive information such as your social security number, right? And then after we got done shutting down the IRS, we could shut down the Fed. That'd be nice. That'd be great. Then we wouldn't even have to be talking about the Fed lead or whatever. Hey, Greg was here or is here. Hey, Greg. And that would have been great too, right? That would have been amazing, right? Hey, Roland, good to see you. David, great to see you as well. Great to see you guys. So yeah, all legitimate questions that we should have answers to. We should have these answers to. So unfortunately, I don't believe many of our pundits. I guess I'm going to call them pundits. Yeah, let's call them pundits, right? On social media, we're just so quick, and myself included. We're just so quick to abandon old stories. We are because we're looking at those news stories that are coming out, right? That are important, that are equally important, and then we just kind of tend to forget about some of these older things. And for whatever reason, right? For whatever reason, we tend to kind of forget about a couple of these things from time to time. We forget about the Hunter laptop. We forget about the Seth Rich laptop. We forget about the Anthony Weiner laptop. And when we forget about things like that, I think it's detrimental to our side because the consequences that are coming down from here. There's so many people that are currently getting into politics more and more every day, right? As they enter this sphere of political stuff, and they start talking about a couple of the, oh, look what I found. We're like, yeah, we knew about that. We've covered that, but they're just now discovering it. Wouldn't it be nice if we were to go back and just bring up a couple of these stories from time to time and just, shed some light, see where we're at with them. And it would especially be good for those who have access to these institutions, right? For example, Benny Johnson, who does solid work for the most part. He does solid work for the most part. There's some stuff that I disagree with Benny on. And his approach, and sometimes he doesn't really hold some people to the fire, but that's fine. I understand. He's trying to have mass appeal, right? But it would be nice to have someone like a Benny Johnson say, "Hey, Dan Bongino or Kash Patel, where are we at with the Seth Rich laptop?" Or have we figured out any more about the Anthony Weiner laptop? Those things were, two of those things were tied to Hillary Clinton. And so we think about that and we're like, oh, can we have some big voices on our side actually ask those questions to people? Because I'll never interview like a Ted Cruz or a Kash Patel or a Dan Bongino. I'll never be able to have access like that to anybody. And I'm not looking for access. I'm not looking to visit Mar-a-Lago. I'm not looking to visit these places to rub elbows with other streamers. I could care less about that. There's a small group of individuals I know personally that I like, that we communicate back and forth with, and I think that's awesome. But I'm not looking to go to these things and try to climb the I guess the social media ladder, if you will. I'm happy with coming on here, reporting what I find, giving it to you guys, and having just an awesome, amazing group of individuals who come together and and for whatever reason spends an hour and a half of their night sometimes, or an hour of their night with me on here. I think that's just awesome. I think that's amazing. I told somebody at work one day, I said, it's a pretty humbling experience when you do live video or you do videos, because you put yourself out there, right? I put myself out here. I'm out there. People recognize me, and I like what people do. I think it's pretty cool. I've had people, see me at gas stations or at supermarket or at like a Walmart or something. They're like, "Hey, you're Let's Be Frank." I'm like, "Hey, how's it going?" I think that's really cool. And it's very humbling at the same time. I was looking at I added up over the years I've been on doing YouTube, and if I actually had my video library all on YouTube, I believe I would have had over 6,000 videos on my channel, on this channel. 6,000 videos, at least 6,000. 3 separate occasions I had to go through and erase all my videos because YouTube said that I was breaking some type of rule or whatever. But they would never specify what video was doing it, right? They would not specify the video that was in violation. And with the vague terms that they give you, you don't know which one it is. And you can ask, and they're like, well, our sensors picked up blah, 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 blah. And we can't tell you what it is. So you're like, oh, what am I supposed to do, right? And a few of you guys have followed me long enough. You guys may have attended some of those deletion parties, I call them, where I would delete like 1,500 to 2,000 videos. I did that like 3 different times. Well, anyway, all that to say this is that if you had added up, because if you look at my view count on my channel, it's not actually reflective of the life of the channel. I think I've had over near 100 million views, I guess, total, maybe in the channel's lifetime. And I think it's a very humbling experience when you think about it, that you have reached at least 1 million people. And I have spoken in front of 1 million people one way or another on video. And I think that is just an amazing and humbling thought to think about that. And that's when we come back to, we do this because we love it. I do this because I like it. I like doing this. This is fun. It's been fun for a very long time. And I enjoy the community. I enjoy talking politics with you guys. I enjoy laughing with you guys. I enjoy getting upset with you guys about things that we have to discuss, and not upset with you guys, but upset together. And I think that's great. I think that's great. I think that that says a lot about, one, the community, and two, that when you get to a certain level, I guess, some people tend to forget the roots where we came from, and why people tuned in to you for the first time. Maybe they tuned in because you had a engaging thumbnail, or because you had a really cool title, and maybe they just liked the style of your video, or maybe they just tolerated your voice, like many people do mine. I still have a hard time listening to myself. But I think at the end of the day, when we have the trust of people like you guys and everyday Americans, that we should do our best to present to you guys the best information we can deliver to you guys based on what we have, right? Based on what we have. Obviously, I am not an investigative reporter. I do look at multiple different stories and try to look at them. I have some websites I really like, and I depend on some of their reporting. And then I have to use some of my own, discernment on determining whether or not the story is defunct or there may be a kernel of truth in there, right? And how we should view this story, or how we should react to this story. And I think that's, in a nutshell, of why I think people obviously have tuned out most of the mainstream media, and they find these channels on here, on this platform and on Rumble, and they really attach themselves to individuals on here, and they're like, this guy is doing is truly saying and speaking the truth. And I hope that I do that for you guys. And I do my best. And if I've ever get a story wrong, or if I'm really off on a topic, I'm sure you guys are going to let me know. And I appreciate that. And so, as we think about these things, and as we move through these things, I just so want to tell you guys, I appreciate the support that you guys show this channel. For those who have been with this channel for years, I appreciate you. I appreciate all of the members of the channel, those who support through membership. You guys are awesome. Those who watch the videos and like them and comment, take the time and comment. I thank you. Thank you. For all of you guys who share it, I appreciate it. For those of you who donate through Super Chat or Super Thanks or through other means of supporting, I appreciate it. Thank you. It all means the world to me that you guys care that much about what I'm presenting, and you guys are supporting in many different ways. And that right there, that is humbling. That is humbling. So I appreciate you guys. I appreciate every single one of you. We're going to get back on our normal schedule. I know I took a couple days off this week. Had a lot of stuff going on this week. We did school shopping for my son on the other day, and that was fun. Had a good time with him. And he has golf tryouts tomorrow morning, and so I like to get to bed here shortly myself and go support him for that. So all of that, I appreciate every single one of you guys. Thank you guys so much. We will be back with another live stream on Saturday night at 10 p.m. So I look forward to seeing you guys back here at 10 p.m. And check out some of the stuff I have on TikTok. If you have TikTok, follow me over on TikTok. That helps out. If you have Rumble, follow me over on Rumble. That helps out. All those things help. So I do appreciate you guys. So this is the final broadcast for July here inside of this month. Real quick, I just want to show you guys something real quick before we head out of here for today. We currently have 9 memberships. I am wanting to try to hit 50 memberships before the end of the month of August. If you guys are able to contribute through a membership, that's fantastic. Thank you so much for doing so. If not a big deal. Like I said, those other things help tremendously as well. But I just want to make you guys aware there is a goal that I have set for the channel that I'm trying to hit. And you guys can help hit that goal. And I can't not do it without you guys. But with that being said, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. I will see you guys back on Saturday night at 10 p.m. Eastern. I'll see you guys real soon. I hope you guys have a great day tomorrow. Enjoy. Don't forget, Salty has a stream tomorrow. I'm sure most of you guys who watch already know. So check them out. And until then, I will see you guys next time. Have a great evening. Bye, everyone.